Hey there, and welcome to this explainer. Today, we're doing something a little different and dissecting a truly terrifying piece of microfiction. It's called The Shadow of 3 Minutes. We're going to break down exactly how this short, punchy narrative masterfully builds, well, just unbearable suspense using nothing but the relentless passage of time and the really strict confines of a single locked room. It's literally a masterclass in tension. So let's just dive right in.
First, I really want you to put yourself directly into the protagonist's shoes for a second. Imagine you're our main character, Ravi. You're just sitting alone in your room, casually watching a video. It's a completely mundane, perfectly safe environment, right? But then, without you even touching it, your phone inexplicably turns on. The screen just glares in the quiet room. So ask yourself, what would you do if your safe sanctuary suddenly felt like a trap, and a countdown to some unknown doom just began? The catalyst for this whole nightmare is brilliantly simple. 3 minutes. 03:00. A chilling, totally unprompted timer just starts ticking down on Ravi's screen. Now, he tries to turn the phone off, he tries to force stop it, but the timer just refuses to yield. And, the horror here doesn't start with some giant monster breaking down the door. No, it starts with an immediate, baffling loss of control over an everyday piece of technology. Now, to really understand how this story manipulates fear, we need to look at its structure. This timeline lays out the exact chronological roadmap of the dread we're analyzing today. Notice how compressed all of this is. We go from the timer starting at 3 minutes to a mysterious message at 2:15, the room actually physically reacting at 1:40, another message hitting at exactly 1 minute, a visual manifestation at 30 seconds, and the final approach at just 10 seconds. By presenting this rapidly shrinking window of safety, the story automatically builds this intense, compounding psychological pressure.
Section 1. The 3-Minute Mystery.
Okay, so at the 2-minute and 15-second mark, Ravi's phone receives this jarring text message. It just says, "You have only 3 minutes." Ravi is understandably panicked. He asks the empty room, "For what?" But of course he gets no answer. Look at how effective this is. Presenting an unexplained, literally inescapable deadline instantly induces panic in the human brain. Because the threat isn't defined, Ravi's imagination, and honestly the reader's imagination too, is basically forced to fill in the blank with the absolute worst possible outcome.
Section 2. The Terrifying Countdown. So then at the 1 minute and 40-second mark, the environment actually turns against him. The ceiling fan suddenly starts spinning rapidly. The window begins to shake violently. And when Ravi jumps up to open the door, he discovers the absolute worst. It's locked from the outside. The story systematically seals all of Ravi's escape routes step by step. It logically proves to him and to us that he is utterly trapped. His room is no longer a shelter, it's a cage. With the room completely sealed, the timer hits exactly 1 minute. The phone beeps again, and the message reads, "He is coming." Sweat is beading on Ravi's forehead now. He looks around frantically. You see, the intense dread brought on by this 1-minute message relies heavily on a terrifying contrast. It pits the absolute certainty of an impending threat against the horrifying fact that Ravi's room is completely, visibly empty. Like, who is coming? And how on earth can they be coming if the room is completely sealed? And this brings us to a really core concept of the story, which is psychological confinement. Basically, this is a horror technique where fear is amplified not by some visceral, visible monster, but by the anticipation of the unknown within an inescapable space. At the 30-second mark, a shadow suddenly appears on the wall of his room, but there is literally no one casting it. The room is still empty. The appearance of a shadow without a source, inside a locked room, creates the ultimate psychological anxiety. It completely violates the laws of physics and confirms that whatever this threat is, it's definitely supernatural.
Just 10 seconds left. The shadow detaches. It slowly inches toward Ravi. He stumbles backward, but there's nowhere left to go. The physical space is shrinking just as incredibly fast as the clock. The panic here is absolute.
Section 3. The Illusion of Zero.
3 seconds. He's braced for the worst.
2. Heart pounding. It's suffocating.
1. Pushed to the absolute breaking point.
0. The timer ends. And suddenly, there's absolute silence. The fan stops. The window's perfectly still. Ravi exhales this massive, trembling sigh of relief. He thinks, nothing happened.
Section 4. The Real Terrifying Truth. But just as his heart rate begins to settle down, the phone lights up with one final, absolutely terrifying message. Now the time has started. In a fraction of a second, Ravi's brief little illusion of safety is completely and brutally shattered.
And this right here brilliantly illustrates the sheer genius of the author's twist. See, the initial countdown, 3, 2, 1, was purely about the anticipation of an arrival. As a reader, we thought he just had to survive until 0. But the new count-up, 1, 2, 3, represents the horrifying reality of presence. The countdown wasn't until the attack. The countdown was until the entity fully entered the room. It is already in there with him.
Let's quickly summarize the mechanics of this incredible twist, because it's just so good. Everything we know about stories tells us that when the clock hits 0, the monster attacks, or the bomb goes off, or the climax happens, right? The countdown successfully created this totally false expectation of survival at 0. It basically weaponized our understanding of how clocks work in movies and stories right against us. Second, 0 wasn't the end, it was the exact moment of arrival. And third, the new count-up measures his permanent entrapment with the entity. This specific inversion of the timer effectively flips the entire narrative from suspenseful anticipation straight into pure inescapable terror. Every single second that ticks upward now is a second spent in hell.
It's honestly a structure that lingers with you long after you finish reading it. It kind of makes you look at the clocks around your own room a little differently, doesn't it? So, I'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. If your timer hits 0, are you finally safe, or has your nightmare just arrived? Thanks for joining me for this explainer. And hey, keep your eyes on the shadows.